The plane lands, the uniforms come off, the welcome home banners are eventually taken down. For many, this is the moment they've dreamed of. The end of deployment, the end of combat, the end of constant high alert. They are home, they are safe. But for many, the return is not an end, but a new beginning. It's the start of a different kind of war, one fought within their own minds and bodies. This battle is waged in crowded grocery stores on sleepless nights, and in the silence between conversations with loved ones who can't understand what's changed. A veteran might look fine on the outside, holding a job, raising a family, going through the motions. But beneath the surface, a storm rages. The memories linger, replaying at unexpected times. The hypervigilance that kept them alive in war becomes exhausting anxiety at home. The war has followed them, its front lines now drawn across their hearts and minds. Imagine Mark, a soldier home from Iraq. No visible scars, but loud noises make him jump, crowds overwhelm him, and his mind drifts back to the desert. His family breathes a sigh of relief, but Mark is not the same. "I'm fine," he says, but he's fighting a war after the war, a lonely battle no one else can see. This is the reality for countless veterans. They carry the weight of their experiences long after leaving the battlefield. The skills that kept them alive, instant reactions, compartmentalizing emotion, can become liabilities in civilian life. The transition is not as simple as changing clothes, it's a fundamental rewiring of the self. For those with invisible wounds, the struggle is even harder because it's unseen and unacknowledged. The journey home is just the beginning of a new fight. Healing requires more than time. It requires understanding, support, and patience. The war after the war is real, and it's one we must all learn to see. For many veterans, the battle for peace is just beginning. Their stories deserve to be heard. When we picture a wounded veteran, we often imagine visible scars or missing limbs, but some wounds are invisible: PTSD, moral injury, chronic pain, traumatic brain injuries. These don't show up on X-rays, but they shape daily life in painful ways. PTSD is not weakness, it's a response to trauma. For veterans, the past is never truly past. A car backfiring can trigger panic. Nightmares bring back the worst moments. Physical pain with no clear source, headaches, burning nerves, aching backs are real, even if scans show nothing. Dismissal by doctors adds psychological anguish, making veterans feel unheard. Consider a Marine sergeant who survived IED blasts. No visible wounds, but memory loss, rage, and confusion haunted him. His family saw no scars, but the damage was real, microscopic, hidden, and life-altering. These invisible wounds reshape personalities, strain relationships, and make daily life a battle. Veterans fight an enemy within, often unrecognized by society. Their struggle is real, even if it can't be seen. The brain is our command center, fragile and vital. On today's battlefield, traumatic brain injury, or TBI, is common and insidious. A blast wave can shake the brain, causing damage that may not show up for months or years. Symptoms: headaches, dizziness, memory loss, mood swings are often mistaken for other issues. A calm, level-headed veteran may suddenly have a short fuse, confusing loved ones. Chris, an Army specialist, described the fog after his third IED: blinding headaches, forgetfulness, frustration. Brain fog makes it hard to concentrate, learn, or work. TBIs are often dismissed as mild, but there's nothing mild about an injury that changes who you are. Multiple TBIs can lead to long-term decline and a profound sense of loss. The injury is to the very core of their being, a silent thief of self. These wounds are hidden, but their impact is life-changing. Recognizing and treating TBIs is essential for true healing. The invisible damage must be brought to light. Some wounds come not from a single moment, but from slow, creeping poison. Burn pits, where everything from plastics to medical waste was burned, filled the air with toxins. Years later, veterans exposed to these pits face rare cancers, lung diseases, and autoimmune disorders. The enemy was the very air they breathed. For years, their illnesses were dismissed. No clear link, no recognition. Veterans fought not just disease, but a system that refused to believe them. "You know it's from the burn pit," one Air Force captain said, but for years they said there was no proof. The battle for recognition added stress and a sense of betrayal. Toxic exposure is a hidden legacy of modern war, one we're only beginning to address. These wounds grow over time, demanding our attention and action. For veterans with invisible wounds, the fight for validation can be as painful as the injury itself. Symptoms don't always show up on tests, leading to skepticism and dismissal. It's all in your head, some are told, or just push through it. This medical gaslighting makes veterans question their own reality. One Army veteran saw 7 doctors for migraines and nerve pain. Most offered only antidepressants or disbelief. The struggle for a diagnosis becomes a full-time job. Overlapping symptoms, PTSD, TBI, toxic exposure, lead to misdiagnosis and frustration. Veterans become their own advocates, desperate for someone to listen. The system's failure compounds their suffering. Accurate diagnosis is the first step toward healing. Veterans need to be heard, believed, and treated with respect. The struggle for understanding extends beyond the doctor's office into families, friendships, and communities. Well-meaning comments like, "You look fine," or "You should be over it by now," can feel dismissive. Family life is especially challenging. Spouses and children may not understand sudden mood swings or withdrawal. Veterans feel guilt for causing pain but can't simply will their symptoms away. One veteran shared, "A crowded mall sent my anxiety through the roof. I couldn't explain it to my wife." This communication gap erodes relationships, leaving everyone feeling helpless. In the community, stereotypes about PTSD create stigma and isolation. Veterans fear being labeled unstable, making it harder to seek help or find work. They carry not just trauma, but society's misconceptions. Misunderstanding builds walls around veterans, making healing harder. Compassion and education are needed to break down these barriers. We must listen, learn, and support those who served. In the midst of pain and isolation, many veterans find hope in faith. For Christian veterans, belief in a God who understands suffering offers comfort and meaning. Prayer becomes a lifeline, a place to be honest about struggles without judgment. David, a veteran, said, "I couldn't talk to anyone about what I'd done, but I could talk to God." The Bible, especially the Psalms, gives language to their anguish and hope for restoration. Faith reframes wounds, not as damage, but as marks of survival in stories not yet finished. Belief in redemption gives purpose beyond trauma. Faith whispers, "You are not forgotten, you are not beyond repair." For many, this hope is the first step toward healing. Faith offers a steady anchor in the storm. Healing is rarely a solitary journey. God often works through community. For many veterans, a supportive Christian community is a turning point. In church or faith-based groups, they find brotherhood, understanding, and practical help. Here, they're not just a project, they're known and loved. Faith-based veteran groups combine spiritual support with shared experience. For the first time, I could talk about nightmares and anxiety, and others understood, one Marine said. This sense of belonging combats isolation and rebuilds lost connections. In these groups, veterans are seen as individuals, not just as the veteran. Community becomes a sanctuary where invisible wounds are tended with patience and care. Together, they walk the path toward healing. Healing from invisible wounds is a long journey, often with setbacks. For Christian veterans, there's a foundational promise. God heals the brokenhearted and binds up their wounds. This isn't a promise of instant cure, but a statement about God's character. He is near to the suffering. God sees wounds others can't, and gently binds them up. For veterans, this means brokenness isn't the end of the story. God's healing is holistic, mind, body, and spirit. It works alongside therapy, medicine, and community. One veteran said, "I realized I couldn't fix myself. When I gave it to God, He started to put me back together." The wounds remain, but they lose their power. God's promise is restoration, not erasure. Veterans are invited to trust, to rest, and to hope. The journey is hard, but they are not alone. These stories are not just about pain. They're about resilience, courage, and faith. But they also call us to action, especially within the church. We must see and care for those with invisible wounds. This starts with education, learning about PTSD, TBI, and toxic exposure. We must listen, create safe spaces, and move beyond stereotypes. Compassion and patience are essential. Healing isn't linear. Our role is to be a steady, loving presence, bearing one another's burdens. Our faith compels us to bring hidden wounds into the light. Let's commit to seeing, listening, and supporting the veterans among us. Inspired by the God who heals, let's help bind up the wounds of those who have sacrificed so much. Thank you for watching. If this message spoke to your heart or opened your eyes, please take a moment to like this video, share it with someone who needs to hear it, and subscribe to our channel for more truth-filled, spirit-led content. Like, share, subscribe. El Shaddai Al Shti Christian Ministries, www.elshaddaichristian.com.